He returned home after a long, exhausting day, expecting the familiar quiet and the faint scent of dinner wafting from the kitchen. But the moment he stepped into his living room, he froze, his heart caught in a sudden, impossible mix of shock and awe. There, in the soft golden light of the late afternoon streaming through the windows, his daughter Grace was spinning and twirling in the living room, her laughter ringing like music, while the janitor's son, little Isaac, matched her movement step for step. Their feet shuffled across the polished floor, their hands clasped loosely but confidently, as if they had danced together 1,000 times before. For a split second, the world seemed to stop, and Michael, a man hardened by years of work and worry, felt tears prick his eyes. He had never imagined seeing this, not because of the dancing itself, but because of the boy's humble background and the invisible walls he had built in his mind over social class and upbringing. If you believe in kindness and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. This story will touch your heart in ways you never expect. Michael's life had always been structured, neat, and safe. He had worked tirelessly as a project manager in Chicago, striving to give Grace the life he had always dreamed of for her. Their modest house in suburban Illinois was a sanctuary of order and planning, where each day followed a precise rhythm. Yet beneath this surface, a subtle fear lingered, the fear that Grace, his only daughter, might never truly connect with people who didn't fit into the neat boxes he had drawn in his mind. And in that moment, seeing Isaac and Grace dancing together, that fear began to crumble. Isaac, the janitor's son at Grace's school, was an ordinary boy by many measures. His clothes were often patched, his hair slightly unkempt, and he carried the quiet dignity of someone used to being overlooked. Yet he moved with a grace and confidence that left Michael breathless. Grace had always been shy, preferring books and quiet afternoons to loud social gatherings, but with Isaac, she laughed in ways Michael had rarely heard. He could see the trust and pure joy radiating from her, and he realized that this boy, this outsider, in his eyes, had given her something he had never fully managed, freedom. Michael sank into the nearest armchair, trying to reconcile the mixture of pride, surprise, and shame bubbling inside him. He had always prided himself on teaching Grace values, manners, and discipline. But in his pursuit of protecting her from disappointment, he had unknowingly built walls that kept her from experiencing the simple, profound joys of connection. Isaac had no titles, no fancy school or expensive hobbies, yet in this living room, he had unlocked a part of Grace's heart that Michael had not known existed. He remembered the days leading up to this moment. Grace had come home from school in a hush of excitement, her cheeks flushed with something more than play. "Daddy, can I ask you something?" she had whispered, hesitating at the doorway. Michael, sensing curiosity, or perhaps a confession of some school mischief, had leaned in. "Of course, sweetheart." Grace had mentioned Isaac, softly, almost cautiously, and Michael had felt a twinge of his old discomfort. The boy was different, not from their world, and Michael's mind had immediately started cataloging reasons to worry. But he had smiled, nodding, telling her to be kind, as he always did. He had not imagined that kindness would blossom into this, a living, breathing, twirling moment of connection. The music playing from the small stereo in the corner was soft, classical yet playful, filling every inch of the room. Michael's eyes took in the small details, Isaac's rolled-up sleeves, the faint scuff on his worn sneakers, the way his fingers gently guided Grace's tiny hand. Grace's hair spun with her movements, catching the light, and her laughter, pure, unrestrained, wrapped around Michael's chest, squeezing tight. He had never thought that a janitor's son could teach him a lesson in humility and love in such a profound, vivid way. As the dance continued, Michael found himself thinking about his own life. How many moments had he missed because of pride, prejudice, or fear? How many times had he placed societal boundaries above human connection? Watching Isaac and Grace, he understood that love, trust, and joy were not dictated by class, money, or appearance. They were shared in moments of vulnerability and courage, in the small, unexpected acts of kindness that could change someone's entire world. The world outside their suburban home, the streets lined with oak trees and the distant hum of traffic, felt suddenly irrelevant. All that mattered was here, in this living room, where a young girl and a boy from a life Michael had often overlooked were teaching him a lesson about the true meaning of heart. Tears blurred his vision, but they were not tears of sorrow, they were tears of awakening, of humility, and of the unspoken gratitude that swelled in a father's heart. He could see the boy's family reflected in Isaac's careful movements, the quiet pride of parents who worked hard and loved harder. Michael had often judged them, assuming that their world was limited, but he now understood how wrong he had been. Life was not about the labels we assign to each other but about the moments we create together. That afternoon, Isaac and Grace had created a memory that would linger long after the music stopped, a memory that bridged worlds Michael had thought would never meet. The dance eventually slowed, and Grace leaned her forehead against Isaac's shoulder, breathing hard from laughter and effort. Michael found himself standing, clapping softly, unable to hold back his emotion. Both children looked up, startled at first, and then beamed. It was a moment of pure acknowledgement, a silent agreement that boundaries were being broken, not with rebellion, but with love and trust. Michael knelt down beside Grace, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. "I think I understand now," he whispered, more to himself than to her. Grace hugged him tightly, and he felt the warmth of her small body, the trust in her embrace, and a profound sense of hope that perhaps he could be a better parent, a kinder person, and a more open-hearted human being. He called Isaac's mother later that evening, thanking her for raising such a remarkable boy. She laughed, humbly, reminding him that Isaac was just being himself, showing care and joy wherever he could. Michael realized that the greatest gifts often come in humble forms, wrapped in laughter and moments of shared joy, rather than in grand gestures or expensive presents. That night, Michael tucked Grace into bed and lingered by her side, remembering the dance, the laughter, and the quiet courage of a boy who had changed everything with a simple act of friendship. He resolved to let go of prejudices and embrace the unexpected, to see beyond the surface and cherish the heart of people around him. Isaac had not just danced with his daughter, he had danced into Michael's soul, leaving an imprint that no wealth, status, or planning could replicate. As you watch this story, remember that sometimes the most powerful lessons come from the least expected places. If this story touched your heart, please engage, like, share, and comment your thoughts. Let the world know that kindness and courage still exist in the smallest acts. And don't forget to leave a comment before you go, your thoughts might inspire someone else to see beyond appearances and embrace the unexpected beauty in life. Because in the end, life is not measured by the walls we build, the money we earn, or the titles we hold, but by the connections we forge, the joy we share, and the love we give freely. Michael had returned home expecting ordinary, but what he found was extraordinary, a moment that reminded him, and all of us, that the heart does not see social class, fear, or expectation. It only sees love, trust, and the courage to dance without hesitation. And sometimes, that is enough to change a life forever.